Boolean Basics, How Terms and Connectors Searching Operates, Part 2, Connectors. Terms in a Boolean search are turned into search statements by using connectors, which indicate relationships between terms. These connectors will determine whether all of your search terms, or just some of them, will be required to be in documents in your results. And if you're requiring more than one term, how far apart can they be, either by word count or grammatical structure? You can also exclude terms from documents in your search results. Some search engines recognize words as connectors rather than as search terms or noise words when they are typed in capital letters. The first connector to consider is the OR connector. Use the OR connector to include alternative forms of expression. Since the computer doesn't know that a dog is the same thing as a canine, to find a case that refers to a dog as a canine, you need to supply the alternative term using the OR connector. Use OR for synonyms. For example, a case could refer to a car, or a motor vehicle, or an automobile, or an auto. Of the 37 cases in Wyoming in 1990 that included one or more of these four terms, 18 of them, fewer than half, used the word car. 19 used the phrase motor vehicle, a few more than half, 21, used the word automobile, and only 6 had the word auto, and almost none used all four. You should also use the OR connector when you want to find discussions that discuss both the presence of something or its absence. For example, a statute can establish an action for the invasion of privacy or present people with a right to privacy. When you run the search cat or dog, assuming the automatic plurals of Lexis and Westlaw, you will get any document that has either or both of these terms in their singular or plural form. So the Boolean OR is not like the regular English language use of OR to indicate choice. You don't have to choose your favorite. You can have either one or both. Adding terms to your search with the OR connector should increase the number of documents that meet your search criteria. One last thing about the OR connector. In a Westlaw Boolean search, a space between words is read as the OR connector. So if you want to include a phrase in a Westlaw terms and connectors search, you need to include that phrase in quotation marks. The next connector is the joining connector, usually written as AND or ampersand. This connector requires the search term on each side of the connector to be in every document retrieved, and the terms can be anywhere in the document. Here's our database example. It's the intersection of the two circles, since both words need to be in the documents retrieved. A note about Bloomberg Law here. Bloomberg Law assumes the AND connector between terms if you haven't chosen a different connector in its terms and connectors search engine. The first variation of the joining connector is the proximity connector. For this, both terms need to be in the same document, and in addition, they must be within a certain number of words of each other. On Westlaw, this is written as a slash followed by the maximum number of words that can come between the two terms. Lexis uses W/number, meaning both terms must be within that number of each other. Bloomberg Law uses N/number, meaning nearby that number. All three systems will recognize both Lexis and Westlaw commands, but again, when you are using a database that you don't regularly use, check the help screens to find out what commands the system will be able to process the way you want them to. Here's a research tip. Deconstruct phrases and replace them with proximity connectors to get alternative ways the same concept could be expressed. For example, freedom of the press could also be expressed as a press that is free. If you search for free exclamation within for press, you will get them both. A variation on the proximity connector is the ordered proximity connector. Both terms must be within a certain number of words, as with the proximity connector, with the additional requirement that the first must precede the second. This is written as pre/number on Lexis, plus/number on Westlaw, and NP/number on Bloomberg Law. Again, all three systems will let you use either Lexis or Westlaw syntax. Here's another research tip. This is a great connector when you're looking for people, unless you know that their name always appears in exactly the same form. Join their first and last names with the pre-to connector to get their name with or without middle names, initials, nicknames. You can see from this example all the different ways I've seen Professor Plotter referred to. Searching for him as Zygmunt pre-to Plotter will retrieve all of them. Another type of joining connector is the grammatical connector. Instead of being a certain distance apart, the words need to be in the same grammatical unit, either a sentence or a paragraph. Westlaw writes them as /s or /p, and Bloomberg will understand these connectors. Bloomberg Law will also recognize s/ or p/ to mean the same sentence or paragraph. Lexis also allows the use of same sentence and same paragraph connectors, but they are not true grammatical connectors looking for periods at the end of sentences and paragraph marks, but are actually a numerical estimate, with the same sentence being no more than 25 words apart and the same paragraph being up to 75 words apart on Lexis. The final connector is the exclusion connector. This connector eliminates documents with designated search terms or phrases. Westlaw uses the % or the words but not. Lexis uses the word and not. And Bloomberg just uses the word not. The term or phrase after this connector cannot be in any documents retrieved. You have to be very judicious in the use of this connector. It can be over-restrictive, eliminating documents you want if they have the forbidden term. At the very least, use it at the end of a sentence to avoid negating the whole sentence. Finally, I want to talk briefly about what happens when you use search terms but no connectors in a Boolean search. Each of the three major systems treats a string of terms without connectors between them differently in their terms and connectors search mode. On Lexis, in a terms and connectors search, the string of words seen here, breach of fiduciary duty, would be read as a phrase. On either of the other two systems, if you want it to be read as a phrase, you will need to include it in quotation marks. Lexis wouldn't have a problem with the quotation marks either, so for safety's sake, you might want to include all the things you actually want searched as a phrase in quotation marks, although in Lexis, quotation marks override automatic plurals and automatic truncation. On Bloomberg Law, words that are entered in the search box without connectors between them in a Boolean search are presumed to have the AND connector between them. So this search on Bloomberg Law will get the documents in the database being searched that have every one of these terms in them, probably not including of, which is a noise word. And finally, on Westlaw, the space between terms in a terms and connector search is presumed to be the OR connector. So this search on Westlaw will retrieve all documents that have any of the words in this string, with the exception of the noise word of, but that's probably still a lot more documents than you have time to look through. So it pays to put the connectors you want between the terms you have chosen to search for to get the set of documents that best meet your research needs. This is the end of basic Boolean searching, but fear not, there's another video on advanced Boolean searching that will teach you even more smart searching tricks.